today, Steve? The battery's dead. Again? Well, my guess is that,
Yeah, turned you up so the battery's dead.
yeah, my guess is I didn't check it and Nancy wore it last and forgot to turn it off, is what my guess is. So, it's just a guess. Because I sometimes don't know what actually happened or what's going to happen. And when I read these particular scriptures, they remind me of that. They remind me that Peter was trying to tell folks that Jesus had come, Jesus had given his life for us, and we should all be grateful. It's a nice thought. But does everybody believe that? Does everybody believe that? That we should be grateful, we should treat each other as Jesus treated people? I don't think so, because I see too many people that said, as my grandson said in this fight on the school bus, he hit me first, so it gave me the right to hit back. I think there's too many of us in this world that believe that. They hurt me, so I can hurt back. Of course, Peter goes ahead and tells us all the things they did to Jesus and how they never fought back, and how that's how we should behave. Hard to do. Then we think about what they're telling us in Acts. In Acts, everybody was excited. I think about excitement. You know, new church had just started. 3,000 people were coming in every single day. I remember the first time I saw anybody from Paducah. It was way back 20 years ago. And I was at a general conference. And you had a lot of people there at that conference. Not a general conference, a district conference, excuse me. And there were a lot of people there. And the very most excited group of people were, guess who? NCC Paducah. They were so proud. They'd gone from new works into being a church in less than a year. Wonderful feeling. Excited. They were adding people daily, right? Everybody wanted to come to the new church. They were all excited. If you thought about it, they said that was going to be one of the fastest growing churches in the district. Everybody was excited. Just like Peter and Paul and all the rest of the disciples were so excited in the beginning when the new church started. And everybody was going to live together and share all they had. Bring it all into the church. Never have to worry. Nobody had to worry about eating. Nobody had to worry about having a house to live in, to pay their utility bills, buying clothing. There's going to be plenty because everybody was going to sell everything they had, and they were all going to live together. Well, if you read a little further in the book of Acts, there's this thing that happens. Probably be next week's scriptures. These two people decide that, okay, I'll do it. They agreed right away. Except for, I gotta have a rainy day fund. It's stuck here and nobody knows I've got it. And I'm not gonna tell anybody. That was the start of it. I mean, you know, those people were, God knows, God knew, and they were struck dead, so I'm not particularly going to go into the details of that. But the other thing that happened, as the church went on, there's a trouble with everybody thinking that they can take care of everybody else. And the problem was nobody got a job. And if you don't get a job and you don't earn money, guess what happens if you got $5 million in the bank? It's eventually going to go away. And that's what happened to the Christians in Jerusalem. And that big church dissolved and became little household churches. Who would have thought a church so big could become so small? And then we get into this particular tale that I really like. It's a hard parable to understand. Now, when we think of Jesus, what do we think of? The Good Shepherd. He's always talked about as our Good Shepherd that watches over us, each and every one of us. But now we've got a new scenario for him. How many of you ever thought of Jesus as a gate? Just a gate. That's what it talks about here. And being the gatekeeper. The one that lets the shepherds in. And that sheep are protected because he is the gatekeeper. And only lets in the shepherd. And I think about that, and it puts a big responsibility on certain people. What did we talk about? I'm not only talking about pastors, but I'm talking about each and every member of the church. What do you mean? Oh, Lord, there's this little thing that MCCs believe in. I don't know if any of you know what it is. The ministry belongs to all of you. Oh my gosh. You know, what does that mean? The ministry belongs to all of you. It makes you shepherds. We talked about all these things here in our church. Things I love. I love to dream about the church growing. I love to look here. One thing made my heart feel good is Nancy told me that most of you had talked to her and said, I can preach a decent sermon. It meant a lot to me. It really did. I thank you all for that. But there's something more to being a good Christian. And there are times that each and every one of us feel abused. Is anybody here going to deny that? Do you feel abused if somebody takes advantage of you because you got a good heart? I mean, but we do it anyway, and we do it without retaliation. At least I hope we do. We might fuss a little bit, but I hope we do it without retaliation. Because you know what we're doing? We're being shepherds to those folks that hurt us. And we never think about it that way. We never think about our duties as folks that are shepherds. A shepherd's job is to take care of the sheep. That includes that sheep that don't want to be a sheep. Well, I don't know, I've seen some white sheep that don't want to be a sheep. I've seen a few red sheep that fight being a sheep. But a sheep who thinks they have the answers. You know what God and Jesus always compared us to sheep? Because humans act a lot like sheep. I hate to tell you this, but we do. We're going to find a queen bee or a queen sheep or a king sheep. And guess what we're going to do with that? We're going to follow after him. Oh my God. I'll pick on Sandra. Okay? Because I know I can pick on her without hurting her feelings. I mean, choose a name. I'll choose Larry because he's easy too. He never gets mad at me. Sandra says, we're not going to have Larry around anymore because I just don't like him anymore. You know what he said about me? He said that I don't look as good since I've lost weight as I did before. So we're not going to include Larry in anything we do. Well, what do all the other sheep do?
Oh,
They're going to get right behind Sandra and say, Sandra's right. Larry ain't got good sense. We ain't going to go in and include him in anything else. We are sheep, and we behave. Instead of using what the good Lord has given us. What's the good Lord giving you? I hope He's giving you a few brains, but even more than that, I hope He's giving you a heart. I hope He's taken that heart and He's opened it up. And He's told you, you are the shepherd. And it's not our job to follow that sheep, but it's our job to look to the gatekeeper. The gatekeeper is the one that keeps us safe. That gatekeeper looks at you and sees a perfect child and takes that perfect child and molds it to do God's work. Are we willing to let the gatekeeper look at us and say, here I am. I love that song. Use me. Send me. I'm willing, God, to sacrifice. Just like those folks in that first church. I'm willing to sacrifice a little more than I feel I should sacrifice today. Because I want to take care of the rest of the sheep. I want to be a shepherd. You've called me to this place. You've opened the gate for me. And so now it's my job to take care of the sheep. Not to block or not to have that queen sheep or that king sheep lead the flock, but it's my job to lead. So it's my job to come home and say, hey, listen, Sandra, queen sheep, no matter what you think of Larry, he's a fellow sheep. So forgive him and let's move on. Larry, it's your job to learn how to watch your mouth. Because that's part of being a good sheep, too. God has called us, each and every one of us, to be special. And we just don't see it. We go and we do things because it makes us feel good. And our job is to make God feel good. Our job is to, God look down and say, my good and faithful servant. When I think of that, I think of the things that have made me mad in my life. But I've gone ahead and I swallowed it and went ahead and did whatever it was that I needed to do. And I think of the blessings that God has given me. So it's been worth taking my pill so I feel better and grow. And sometimes it's what it all is about. Taking your pill and feel better and grow. I think about that. I think about it a lot. What has God called you to do? What has God called you to do? Has God called you to be a shepherd? Or are you one the gatekeeper's trying to keep up? What has God called you to? I know you all. Everybody's sitting in here. I know you all. And I've seen us, each and every one of us, do things to hurt each other folks. Oh, Lord, preacher, you didn't say that, did you? Yes, I did. And I've also saw you give love. What does giving love mean? It means being able to forgive and to move on. Oh, what do you know about it, preacher? Let me tell you a story about my lover for 13 years. She was here just a couple weeks ago. Come down, stayed with us. Took us out to dinner. She used to come down and play the piano for me every once in a while. You know the lady she's with now? That's my best friend. It's been my best friend all my life. You know why we broke up? Because my lover decided she liked my best friend better than she liked me. Somewhere along the line, you have to learn to forgive. Somewhere along the line, you've got to let it go, whether you want to or not. Guess what? breast cancer. Can you come and pray for me? And I dropped everything and I went to Michigan to pray for her. That's where I learned to start forgiving. Guess what? Her son is dying. His kidneys are failing. Diabetes, high blood pressure for 2 years. You know, when something happens to him, you know where I'll be? With my best friend, who now is my ex-lover. And my best friend is with her. God has called us to learn to forgive. God has called us to learn to stop carrying anger. Oh, it's a hard thing to do. You know, I was mad at my daddy until the day he died. And before they closed his coffin lid, I said, I forgive you, Daddy. And that was the biggest relief I ever had. What has God called you to do that you refuse to do? Are you living honest lives? Doing the very best you can do? No. Buried a couple of guys and they told me some horrible stories of the things that happened in their lives. But you know what? They've learned to forgive and go on. God has called you to be shepherds. You're no better than Jesus, each and every one of you. Got news for you. I like to think, but it ain't true. You're no better than Jesus. And he forgave all that hurt him. And he moved on. And he became a gatekeeper. A gatekeeper for each and every one of us. That when the gatekeeper lets us in, lets us into the inner sanctuary, the very place that ensures us that we're heaven bound. He's giving you a job, guys. And that job is to be good shepherds. Good shepherds to those you've met. To lead them to that gate. And to help them grow. I would advise you, each and every one, to learn to forgive. How do you do that, preacher? Same way I did. I forgive you, so-and-so. And I'm praying for you today. God, take care of them. And then you'll find out their prayer becomes a little easier and a little sweeter. And next thing you know, you've forgiven them. And you can move on with your life and become that good shepherd.